Do you enjoy Kung Fu? Are you a fan of justified moral extremism? And do you want a high social credit score? If you answered yes to 2 out of 3 of these questions, congratulations. Your access to public services is currently being reviewed, and the CCP has traced your location by violating your VPN's firewall as if it were a human right. And before you ask, no, this isn't some kind of shitty ad. I'm just a humble messenger with the game you've been searching for. It's a game so obscure, it's eligible for hour-long retrospectives. It's a game so unique, it's the only one of its kind, as its sequel was canned on account of being too abstract for the white devil's mind to handle. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Jade Empire. But enough beating around the bush. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's start acting like a family of lower socioeconomic status and get straight to the punchline.
Your lessons are complete. Remember these basic skills and keep them to heart.
Whatever tomorrow may bring, always have tonight.
My actions have brought the Empire great strength and its Emperor endless power. Who among you would dare challenge my right to rule?
Watching you closely. Be on your guard.
I'm too much for you.
No! I won't let you disgrace the Empire!
Do you even know what you hold, child? What truly you make?
Fool. I am Death's Hand. Nothing will stop me.
Jade Empire is an action-adventure martial arts-inspired RPG released by Bioware in 2005. The game follows the story of us, the player character, on our journey to complete a simple fetch quest. Return a retired war criminal to palliative care. But just like your date of Tinder, we'll get more than what we bargained for, and it will quickly escalate into determining the fate of the fucking Empire. The choice of whether we lead it to salvation, correcting the balance of the world, or use the chaos like a ladder to usurp the power for ourselves will be left in the hands of the worst person we could possibly imagine. Ourselves. Jade Empire is set in the fictional land of the same name, in what is essentially Gualo fanfiction. It's similar to other power fantasy RPGs, only this time, having lost the lottery of birth, we will be a China man or China woman. The world is inspired by Chinese history and folklore. Disasters claiming the lives of millions at the hands of either Mother Nature or government interference are of course common, but so is getting petrified by the local fog spirit for shits and giggles. Celestials, demons, spirits, and mortals all live in state-mandated harmony, but none are exempt from reporting to the celestial bureaucracy. So you will file your paperwork upon the reincarnation of your soul, unless you want to come back as a VTuber or unironic Hasanabi fan as divine punishment. This unique take on Chinese culture results in a world that is filled to the brim with character and originality, ripe with wonderful scenarios for you to explore. Like the time I goaded this fat pig into eating a combination of local cuisine so rank, so vile, so unlikely to have passed food regulations anywhere on the planet that it straight up just fucking killed him. Unfortunately, the world is not all sunshine and industrial grade glycine. Recently, the ghosts of the dead have begun to roam free, unable to find the afterlife. So I hope you remembered to visit your Gram, because she will be coming to visit you. The Empire's greatest strength isn't its propped up real estate market, artificially maintained currency, or questionable foreign investment policy. Rather, it is derived from the production and consumption of opium. No, I'm just kidding. It's Kung Fu, obviously. We've been raised from birth under the tutelage of Master Li in the humble village of Two Rivers, a small, unremarkable town in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. But just as the children are sent to the factories in order to learn how to become contributing members of society through hard labor, I mean, what else are you supposed to do with all this excess supply? You're only meant to have one of them. We too have spent our entire life on the grind and have become a veritable G with mad skills. We're so proficient that every time we kick someone's ass, they come up with the same dumb excuse as to why we beat them. So never be afraid to let these know their place and to get back to the fucking rice fields.
Motherfucker!
Our story begins with Master Li reminding us during one of his stupors that we are destined for something greater. However, before he can make a coherent point, the village is raided by fentanyl-fueled necromancers. After the loss of many a peasant and the loss of their loot thanks to this bozo, we successfully fend off the attack and are subsequently sent to the examination arc, where we discover our secret heritage as a spirit monk. and Master Li's hidden identity as Son Li, the glorious strategist and brother of the Emperor himself. Despite the way he likes to treat us,
I recall that, as a child, you fell and bruised your arm.
Master Li is not our father, and instead rescued us from the destruction of our people at the hands of the powers that be. Damn, they took this inspiration stuff seriously, huh? Unfortunately, the bad news doesn't stop there. Just before we close out the chapter, we become haunted by visions of a fairy. Okay, well, allegedly she is the shepherd of the dead, but in reality, all she does is appear at will, causing me to have an epileptic fit, and constantly references her original OC persona, the water dragon. She tells us that the state of the world is tied to our destiny, for we are a spirit monk, and we are the last.
But wait! There's more!
Our story is starting to read like the Genesis section of the Bible, as we're faced with another calamity when we're fast-tracked to the end of the anime for the Two Rivers incident. The village has been burned to the fucking ground by the mythical Chinese Gestapo. Everyone we have ever known has been brutally murdered, and Gigi has been taken to be brought before the Emperor. But what am I even talking about? Nothing happened at Two Rivers. Unfortunately, as the victim of years of psychological conditioning, we decide to go after him, based on the brain-dead notion that we owe respect to our elders. We also vaguely claim revenge as an excuse, on the basis that we should avenge all the unmemorable side characters like Ye-Olde Arms Dealer and Kia Serrato, for which I want to quickly go on the record and say I'm in no way legally responsible for her ultimate demise. You might say it's immoral to pass off cheap, shoddy medicine and charge an exorbitant premium at the cost of someone's health, but honestly, that's just good business. So it is amidst the charred remains of all that we have ever known that we receive the call to action. It's a long way to the Imperial Palace, and with a potential confrontation with the Emperor himself on the cards, we'll need to get even better with the kicking and the punching to even stand a chance at revenge. Oh, and I guess we may as well explore what it means to be a spirit monk as well, because apparently that's important too. Sun Dynasty pussy got me acting unwise. Along our journey, we will unfortunately encounter a variety of people, ranging from the humble village idiot to sociopaths, otherworldly entities, and worst of all, women. Hence, I stress the importance of being able to communicate effectively. And since the Empire is a refined society, you'll most often do this with your fists. Kung Fu is what this game is all about. And if you're not eager to deliver a roundhouse kick to a demon's testicles, you've come to the wrong place. Similar to how we recognize many different types of martial arts today, ranging from last person with cranial hemorrhaging wins to snuggles with struggles. There's a variety of styles you can employ to dispatch anyone who's too prideful to bow in your presence. And no, being old or crippled is not a valid excuse to miscatching these heavenly hands of fury. There's martial styles for when you want to stand on business, weapon styles for when you want to cross swords with your opponent, support styles for when you want to play on easy mode, magic styles if you want to master the elements the same way you've mastered your prescription medication, and transformation styles if you have body dysmorphia. Some of my personal favorites include Kaka Chopsaki and Storm Dragon, which uses bioelectricity fueled by your social credit score. But the undisputed GOAT has got to be Drunken Master, which transforms your body into a machine that converts alcohol into a severe beating for your enemies, which could be anybody. So use it wisely. Mix and match your favorites and get ready to lay the beat down to whatever stands in the way of your most humble of journeys. But be careful to not end up like that guy that practiced one kick 10,000 times. Different enemies have different resistances, so it's important to diversify your portfolio of martial prowess. As you level up, you can hone your skills further and decide whether you're going to be stronger on a higher dose of Ritalin or more spiritual. But the fun doesn't stop there. Do you ever feel like your punches aren't flashy enough? You know, missing a bit of pizzazz in the way that you rearrange someone's internal organs? Well, how about hitting them with a little bit of legally distinct soul power? Or maybe you just want to flex on your opponents and show them that medical emergencies are a social construct invented by the West. And last but not least, as if all this wasn't enough, there's focus mode, where your superior genetics derived from generations of rice consumption can force the world to a near standstill. But if for some reason you're feeling generous and you really don't want to paint the tea house red with the blood of your enemies, you can choose to use your words if you really want to. For example, there was a time I looted this peasant's entire net wealth by accident. At first they protested, accusing me of liberating all their petty cash unjustly. However, after employing a little bit of low-key gaslighting, as well as the underlying threat of physical violence, they slowly but surely began to see the error of their ways. You know, as a child, I considered this the peak of comedy. But then I learned how taxes work. Just as empires aren't built in a single day, they're not toppled in one either. Luckily, there are many companions that will join you on your adventure. Some will follow out of a deluded sense of righteousness, others for the opportunity to grasp at power, and some simply because they got nothing else better to do. But one thing's for certain, there's an internet personality out there that thinks they're all breedable. Allow me to introduce you. There's Dawnstar, the mostly innocent country girl you grew up with. She reminds me of Katara from The Last Airbender, but one of these two are actually interesting. The Black Whirlwind. His hobbies include alcoholism and small-scale acts of domestic terrorism. Sagacious Zoo, the reformed synthetic opioid dependent, but that's not too important since he's based as fuck. Silk Fox, the princess who spends daddy's money on leather and lace when she's not busy assaulting random people to cope with the pain of being neglected. Wildflower, the demon zombie child with a small case of bipolar, on account of her body being inhabited by not one, but two celestial entities. Mad Kang, Heavenly Oppenheimer,
To build something to make his sandals explode.
Zinbu, the celestial accountant, honestly nothing sounds more depressing. Sky, the heartthrob, himbo, and professional sad boy all in one. And for those of you that think it's important, he also swings both ways. Look at you go, Bioware. You didn't even make it his whole personality either. I am so proud of this community.
Oh, brother, this guy's...
And lastly, my favorite, Henpecked Ho, master of the Drunken Fist. He's a man so sick of his wife and the allegations of being a chubby chaser, he'd rather be dragged along to kill a fucking god. And if you can't understand why this is considered rational behavior, I'll assume you're just some salty nerd who's never been in an intimate relationship. In which case, amen brother, you're doing the Lord's work. We gotta let somebody else fuck these bitches. Oh yeah. You can bring your companions along in combat to share in the ancient art of ass kicking, or be your hype man and manifest good vibes while you headbutt people so hard you make their eyeballs explode out of their ass. Each companion has their own likes and dislikes, and believe me, they will make this known. But I must admit, it is funny sometimes listening to them complain about small-scale human rights violations like, gee whiz man, sorry, I just wanted to have some fucking fun. Who knows, if you play your cards right, spoiler here, skip 10 seconds ahead, you may even earn the coveted secret incestuous threesome scene. I wonder what the developers meant by this. I must admit, the deeper symbolic meaning is entirely lost on me. Feel free to comment down below as to why I'm wrong about this. And the worst part is, this isn't even a joke. This is legitimately a feature that was shipped on release. Another hallmark of early 2000s RPGs, besides the submissive love interests, are moral dilemmas and side quests. Whether that's skillfully conquering the Imperial arena or cross-dressing in a public place to inspire dissidents, there's many wonderful opportunities to test just how dysfunctional you really are. Fortunately, there is a convenient in-universe justification for either acting like a total psychopath or bleeding heart that feels sympathy for those too weak to morph into a 20-foot demon to stomp on their enemies. Open Palm fans believe in something called the High Road, uplifting others and encouraging the natural cycle of life. These people, however, clearly do not reside in reality, as with my purchasing power being on a continual decline and the prospect of me living a fulfilling life being as likely as an OnlyFans model reaching self-actualization, I just can't seem to find it in my heart to help those who can't help themselves. Closed fist enjoyers, on the other hand, take what they want when they want. They don't care about your feelings and will slaughter you and your entire family for no other reason than they felt like it and you couldn't stop them. Think of it as survival of the fittest, and because everyone uses what free time they have chasing the red dragon, you are always the strongest and hence always correct, because opioid addiction is haram. My favorite example of just how these philosophies work in action was when I tried to arrange a marriage between the local baker and leader of the provincial triad. Initial discussions proved fruitless, as it turns out the baker was in fact already married. That and the promises made as a young child are apparently not legally binding vows recognized in the imperial courts. In such a tense situation, I only had two options. Either convince the baker to rescind his current marriage and honor his original pledge, or try to talk down the gang leader, is what I would say if I was an open-palmed pussy. In the end, I proposed the only solution that could lead to an equitable outcome for both parties. A fight to the death. Because naturally, only the strongest should get the glizzy. Unfortunately, however, things may have gotten slightly out of hand, as this resulted in the death of not only the baker's wife, but the baker, and the entire gang, as I had no choice but to defend myself. Truly, a happy ending. Jade Empire has got to be one of my favorite games of all time, and it's probably one of the first RPGs that I ever played. It has that nice balance between simplistic and fun that made it easy for a demented child like me to mostly understand when I first played it way back when. And since then, I've always found an excuse to pick it up and play through it again every couple of years or so. The story is your classic hero's journey, and it's a joy to experience whether you play as the hero the game wants you to be, or transform it into a dark comedy where everyone's misfortune is your proverbial punching bag. It's also got decent replay value. Armed with the knowledge of prior playthroughs, you can easily pick up on the not so subtle hints of things to come and explore the consequences of alternative choices. In terms of gameplay, the combat itself is very basic, but it does the job well enough, and it won't take long to get the hang of it. Where it shines though are the fantastic animations. Whether it's handing out fireballs like they're perks at a house party, or swinging those weapons around with some level of competency, they all look great. The design is also incredible. It's set in a completely original world created from the ground up, and this is evident in its uniqueness. It's an interesting take on Chinese folklore and mythology that you don't often see anywhere else. Lastly, the game sounds fucking fantastic. The tracks are great to listen to, and the voice acting is superb. They even got fucking John Cleese in here, dude. It took me almost a decade of playing this game to figure that out. And that's not even mentioning some of the other talent that they got. This roster is stacked. Now, this all sounds too good to be true. So what's wrong with the game? Well, harmonic combos and focus of use break the game's combat. And if you can't pull that off, you can very easily stun-lock enemies, trivializing fights the same way that a streamer will trivialize the need for self-awareness and personal hygiene. The only exception I can think of is the penultimate fight in the Imperial Arena, which can just suck my dick. These games with a morality system are interesting, you know, in theory, but in practice it's just easier to decide whether you're going to save everyone or murder your way through the entire game, since you're encouraged to pick a side and just stick with it. The philosophy is shallow, and there's a lack of nuance in all of the different approaches you can take to solving the problems the game throws your way. I mean, I don't know what to say. Good is good and bad is bad, and acting like an irrational psychopath is bad by proxy. But what do you expect when you draw your philosophy from a kid's movie?
The fuck?
And don't get me started on the endings. They're just over the top and ridiculous when you think about them long enough. And I swear, dude, they were on something when they cooked up that secret third ending. And side note for those of you that are in the know, did you know that was going to be the canon ending for the cancelled sequel? Finally, although the areas are nicely designed, they're just too open. So you spend most of your time in between harassing, helping the innocent, running around like that weird kid in high school who used Japanese media as a substitute for parental guidance. Long story short, if you haven't played the game, I highly recommend it. I promise it'll be worth your time. It's a classic for a reason. Doubly so before they come through and remaster it and charge you an arm and a leg for the experience. Surprised they haven't actually done that yet, by the way. I figured they'd want to cash in on that supposedly big market located somewhere around here. Although I must admit, I'm not smart enough to work for these companies, so I guess I should just shut up and know my place, right? Also, the game is fairly cheap even when it's not on sale, so you can probably pick it up in a bundle with the other Bioware games. You know, the mostly good ones. Just be ready to do some fiddling around to get it to run on modern systems. Honestly, it's criminal how they can sell shit in such a state. You know, they will fucking label you worse for less these days. And the last thing I want to say is, you know, some of you may have found the references and jokes about substance abuse throughout this video unnecessary. But since I come from a country where alcoholism is considered the national pastime, I believe I'm actually the most qualified to speak on the matter. Anyway, moral of the story is never take financial advice from an Australian, because while antidepressants are subsidized by the government, everyone would rather go to the pub or seek alternative medicine to deal with the pain. Okay? Thank you. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. If you like my stuff, you know what to do, alright? I'll see you all next time. Ciao ragazzi.
I'm a dancer from way back, so once a week I pay a visit to the Special Education Centre where I teach special dance. Has anybody seen some dancers? Yeah! I'm here! Dance doesn't discriminate. Virtually anyone can do it. Arms, horsey, shimmy and up. They have some interesting moves that I've never seen before in normal people.